Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Mac and Jack Sports Show, our Sunday football edition of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on every Wednesday to Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. You can see us live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. On Facebook, go to username MacMan62. Mac and Jack Sports, you can Google to come to our shows. And even check out our website at macandjacksports.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter at MacMan McGrath. And as I said, our website is macandjacksports.com. Mac's Insider, Sports Insiders is what you'll be checking on. Right now, we're having a little technical difficulty with my co-host Jack. Hopefully I'll try and bring him up after this and we can hear him. We're having a little problem with the audio. I'm Mac with my co-host Jack Hirsch, legendary boxing writer and former president of the Boxing Writers Association and a show's historian gatekeeper. So I'm going to try and bring Jack up and see if we can hear him. If not, I don't know what we'll do. I guess Jack can make faces at me as I talk. I don't know. But I'm going to try and bring up folks, and we'll see if we can get Jack on. Jack?
Hello?
No, sir. I still can't hear you, my friend. So, I mean, I don't know if it's on my side. I'm not going to have too much luck with the guests today. But if it's on your side, we'll try and figure it out. So I'm going to drop you down, Jack. See if everything's hooked up right again. I know you already tried. Maybe on the side of the tablet, the switch just needs to be put on. Maybe you ought to try that. And if that doesn't work, I guess we can try to bring it back in again. If not, I'm going to be trying to do this solo. So hopefully we can get you in here. Check everything over again, Jack. I'll just drop you down, and I'll continue on. I'll try and bring it back up again, okay? Thanks, Jack. Sorry about that, folks, because Jack really adds a lot to the show, and hopefully we can get him back in. But I will push on, and today on the show we have Facebook fantasy expert Anthony Cervino will be joining us at 8:30. We also at 9 o'clock will be having Robert Butler from Skope, and he'll be in here talking about some of the topics in sports. He speaks his mind, and that's why I like having him on. So we're going to start off with our updates and information first, and then we'll get heavy into the football news as we go. And the biggest news probably is the NBA with all the free agency acquisitions that are going on. Serge Ibaka has moved on to the Clippers. The Warriors add Brian Wanamaker. Tristan Thompson goes to the Celtics. And probably the biggest signing out there was, of course, Gordon Hayward. And Gordon Hayward, he went from the Celtics, and everybody was surprised that he didn't stay with the Celtics. But he went with the Charlotte Hornets for a very big contract. We have Rajon Rondo, who, of course, he was with the Lakers last year, moved on to the Atlanta Hawks. Avery Bradley signs with the Heat. Joe Crowder to the Suns. Jeff Green goes to the Nets. The Milwaukee Bucks get Bobby Portis. You know, they're still trying to build around the Greek Freak there and keep him happy. So when his contract comes up, he doesn't leave. The Pelicans acquire center Steve Adams. That should work well with their monster over there and the Pelicans. And the next keep Joe Harris. And Dwight Howard signs with the 76ers, which, Dwight is not what he used to be a long time ago when he was the MVP and was leading his former team. He was with the Lakers last year also. So the Lakers purged a couple people, and they ended up letting Dwight Howard go. In NFL news, Drew Brees says he has more rib fractures that were found, and his progress, from what is being said, is progressing. So he gets knocked out of the game with fractured ribs, and they found more ribs as they x-rayed him. So hopefully Drew gets better, because the Saints are definitely going to need him if they're going to push on to the playoffs. The Ravens, they did promote Dez Bryant to their starting roster in time for this Sunday's game. So Dez is, it looks like he's going to be playing again. And Dez Bryant was very instrumental, as we know, with the Cowboys. He had some good years there. And the Ravens, in need of some receiving help there on their offense, since they've been sputtering lately, they brought up Dez Bryant to the starting roster. Running back Joe Mixon is on an injured reserve. That will help. That will hurt, since Joe Mixon is a very good running back. And here's not a surprise. Jadeveon Clowney. Clowney was placed on an injured reserve for the Titans, and all these teams were out there. They weren't going to sign him for the big money. Everybody on the Giants and other teams were saying we should pick up Clowney. We should pick up Clowney. He's a great athlete. And really, to me, Clowney hasn't really come out and lived up to his hype. When he was in college, he had that one big hit. He didn't play in the postseason because he wanted to save himself. Ends up with the Texans. Plays good. He did help out there. But he gets hurt a lot. When he was with the Eagles, he was hurt. And now he signed with the Titans. And again, he's hurt. And Clowney definitely isn't living up to what the expectations were, and definitely not to the money that he was asking for in the preseason. Kyler Murray is trying to trademark the Hail Murray pass, the Hail Mary. So he's trying to get a trademark on that. I don't know how many times they're going to use that, but I would imagine they're going to go back to that highlight over and over again this year on that great pass and great catch by Hopkins in the end zone to win that game. So he's trying to get that trademark so he can make some money off it when people show the highlight and say Hail Murray. Patriots quarterback Gilmore, he hints that he might be in his starting lineup this week. The Patriots do miss him. There was talks of trading Gilmore in the beginning of the season because the Patriots were looking to get, of course, more people onto their team because they were having problems. Gilmore, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Teddy Bridgewater is a game-time decision. Very important that he does play because he's had quite a season with the Panthers. And the Panthers, again, even with their losing record, have played some really good ball. So that's it for most of the updates and info before we get into the football. But I want to stop for 1 second and say happy birthday to Michael Strahan. Now, Michael Strahan, me and Jack did a debate show on who the best defensive end in the history of the locals were. He picked Reggie White, and I picked Bruce Smith for obvious reasons. They were both great defensive ends. But, I'd come thinking back on it with the accomplishments that Michael Strahan had in football on the Giants were unbelievable. Of course, he went to 3 Super Bowls, losing one against the Ravens. He was there for 2007 and 11, and he was really the cornerstone of that defense for those Super Bowl years. He was definitely a leader. He did the pregame speeches, and his statistics are unbelievable. Played as good against the run as he did the pass. He was a sack leader for the year. He broke the sack record held by Mark Gastineau, who at the beginning was all cheerful that he bought it. Excuse me, but of course has come back later and said that was not that he really did not break his record because there was talk that Brett Favre fell down to give him that sack. Which, if you look at the film, you can see Brett Favre clearly slipping because he had nowhere to go because Michael Strahan was right on top of him. He's the all-time sack leader for the Giants. If you leave out Lawrence Taylor's first year before they started counting sacks. So Michael Strahan was very important to the Giants. He still involved in the Giants. In fact, if you go to their games, their home games, when they start putting the big video on the Videotron, he's there to pump the crowd up when they're, when the crowds were in the stadium. I went and watched them play the Lions, and he was the one that came on the Videotron. It was Michael Strahan. So a happy birthday to Michael Strahan, a great Giant, a great defensive end, and really in the Hall of Fame amongst the greatest defensive ends of all time. So that's pretty much for the sports updated information. And if you want, folks out there, if you want to get the clothing of your favorite teams, jerseys, hats, all gear, we have the place for you. That's Fanatics. Just go to macandjacksports.com website, Max Insiders, and click on their link. It brings you right to their store just in time for Christmas. Order your special someone's birthday, or just treat yourself to your favorite team's clothing and gear. That's macandjacksports.com. The website name is Max Sports Insiders. Click on the Fanatics links for all your team's clothing and gear. And check out that website because, folks, that website is awesome. We have all our weekly guests on there, a lot of information from the Yankees and the Giants. We have connections over there to the PR department. So that's always changing. We got some great articles in there for you to take a look at. And as I said, all our weekly guests, including Jack, is on that website, and it shows a little biography about him and some information, and it really is a great website. So check that out. Check out Fanatics and get all your clothing, gear from your favorite team. So on Twitter, and I'm going to try and bring Jack up here real quick again and see if we can get him on, hopefully. There he is,
Mac,
Jack.
you hear me?
How are we doing? No, I can't hear you, my friend.
I think the listeners could hear me, but you can't.
I don't understand a word you're saying, my friend. I mean, I can't read lips that fast. But I'll drop you back. If you want to try and come in again one more time, Jack.
Yeah,
I know if it'll help.
I'll go off and try to come in.
Yeah, and let's see what happens. So that's Jack. He's seldom silent, but today he is. So anyway, so hopefully we can get him in and get him up to date. I mentioned my Twitter page, and I do sports picks out there against the spread. So far this season, folks, I'm 21-7. So if you want to get some good picks, I might even give my picks this week on the show. Check out my Twitter page at MacMan McGrath. Like I said, this year so far I'm 21-7. So that's 75%. I don't know any other bookmakers that could give you, or people that pick against the spreads can give you a better percentage than that. So if you get a chance, check it out. And again, check out our Instagram account, all your favorite teams, all your rivals, all the NFC East, AFC East, and all the New York, Boston, and Philly sports are there. So if you want to check that out, and you can see all the news and updates there. So we're going to give it one more college try. Jack, you're looking good. You're looking great. Yes, I know. I'm sorry, my friend. I don't know what it is today.
Mac, I think the listeners
can't hear you.
Hear me. I think they
I
can
wish,
hear me.
I wish we could hear you, Jack, but I don't know what it is. We'll find, if it's on my end, we'll find out when Anthony Cervino comes in, and if it is on my end, then I'll know for sure. If not, then we'll know for sure it was on your end. So again, I'm gonna drop you down, my friend. If you want to try later on the show to come in, come on in, and I'll bring you up. Okay. All right, Jack. Okay. So there you go. The great Jack Hirsch, silent for the first time on the show, I'll tell you. So anyway, so folks, let's get into Drew Brees a little bit and the Saints this year. Of course, the Saints were one of the picks to win their division, and of course, Tampa Bay picks up Brady. They pick up Gronk. Now they have another wide receiver that they're trying to work in, and he seemed to play good last week. I don't know. Again, if there's such a thing as too much talent on a team, there's only one football. You got, only 6 people that possibly can handle the ball, the quarterback being one of those. I don't know how you can spread that ball around and make everybody happy all the time. They do have a lot of weapons. They are a team that is, with a lot of different weapons, a lot of big names. But are they going to be able to win that division? With Drew Brees out now, there's a good chance that could happen. But the Falcons are coming on strong. And even without Drew Brees, the Saints are still a formidable team. And it will be interesting to see what happens in that division. I don't know what's going to happen with the Chiefs and the Raiders this week. As you know, the Raiders have a lot of people on COVID, the COVID list. In fact, there's like 11 of them. Some are starters. The Chiefs' only loss this year was to the Raiders. They're a little upset that the Raiders got a bus and kind of circled the stadium like in a victory lap. So the Chiefs are already upset with the Raiders, and now the Raiders have all these players that are on COVID. So they got to prepare for the Chiefs with not a full team. It's hard enough to beat the Chiefs, as you know, with that full strength. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of game the Raiders give the Chiefs, and whether John Gruden can get that team ready to play that high-powered offense. I don't think that will happen. I think the Chiefs will win that one easily. And a couple other games that are interesting to me, but that are not, not great games as on paper. You have a few like the Lions and the Panthers. A lot of people say, who cares? But believe it or not, the Lions are still in the hunt for a playoff position. And Matt Stafford, one of the better quarterbacks of the past decade, is leading the Lions against the Panthers. And without Teddy Bridgewater, if he doesn't play, the Lions could get a win and, sneak up on the Green Bay Packers just like the Vikings are doing right now. So that's going to be not a great game. I don't think that people are going to watch, but it's very interesting to me. And we'll get more into that later. The Patriots and Houston, another interesting game to me. Not that Houston has a chance of making the playoffs this year, but Houston fell apart this year after being in the playoffs, playing really well. And, the Patriots with Cam Newton, can they put another win together and get to 500? And we'll talk about that more in depth. The Dolphins and Broncos, again, are not a big watch for everybody, but to me is very interesting because the Dolphins, can they keep on winning and challenging the Buffalo Bills in the AFC East? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my top 3 picks right now that I do every week on my Twitter page, MacMan McGrath. And right now, as I said, I'm 21-7. These 3 games, I'm very confident at least 2 out of the 3 games. And my first pick is the Falcons at the Saints, and the Saints giving the Falcons 6.5 points. If you already put your pick in, you're locked in with Drew Brees not playing at all. They still think that the Saints will beat them by more than 6 points, almost 7 points. I think the Falcons are playing really good ball right now, inspired ball. They seem to be coming on, and I think it's a very safe bet to have the Falcons with the Saints getting 6.5 points. I do like the Jets this week, believe it or not, against the Chargers. The Chargers are giving them 8.5 points. So you're going to have to win by, of course, more than a touchdown. I think this is a game that the Jets can at least keep close. I'm not going to say win. They possibly could win, as any team could possibly beat any team on any given Sunday. But this is the best chance for the Jets to win. I imagine that Flacco is going to start again. He looked pretty good last week. The Chargers have a very competitive team. Of course, the Chargers may squeak by 3 or a touchdown, but I expect the Jets tasting their first win that is on paper, that they might win on paper, will play extra hard. And I do expect them to keep it close. So I'll take the Jets in that regard and take that as one of my other picks. My last pick, as I'm trying to scan through this and taking a look at it, the Rams and the Buccaneers. The Rams are getting 3.5 points. I think the Rams are a really good team. The Bucs, of course, are playing well, but the Rams are a little underrated, and they're still up near the top with Seattle of the toughest division, I feel, in the NFL, the NFC West. I like the Rams' defense. I like their newfound running game. Their passing game is getting better because of that running game. And I do like them against the Buccaneers. I think the Bucs played a great game last week, but it seems like when they run into a tough defense, the Saints really didn't play defense against them last week. I really believe that the Rams can keep this close, under 2-3 points, and maybe even win this game. I think that will be an upset. So I got the Rams, I got the Jets, and I got the Falcons. The only one I'm not too sure about is the Jets, but I'm going to go with them this week. So that's it for my top three. I'm going to give you one more quick commercial read, and this is for Z Catering. Z Catering does small to big parties, whether weddings with hundreds of people or smaller parties like birthdays, anniversaries, or graduations. Z Catering will take care of you. 5 restaurants with top-line chefs preparing your food. Their food truck is perfect for your brewery or busy club when you need food to be open. The truck is like a little restaurant on wheels with a big variety of choices. Check out Z Catering on the Mac and JackSports.com website, Mac Sports Insider. Click on their link. It brings you right to them so you can book your event. They're right in the Connecticut, Southern Mass, Southern New York district. So go again to macandjacksports.com. It brings you to Max Sports Insiders. Click on the link, and Z Catering is Z-licious. So what I'm going to do, folks, real quick before we get to Anthony Cervino, our fantasy football expert, is I'm going to take a quick little break here, and we'll be right back in a few minutes.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Infoline. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
We all make choices. When it comes to alcohol, kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye-bye.
Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, have a seat for a second. Remind me about that party again?
Alex is just
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. They want guidance and honest answers to their questions. And it makes a difference when the message is consistent and part of everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah, 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt, that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Try.
Good morning and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. Today is our football show. And right now we're kind of having technical difficulties, I guess, on my end, Jack, where I can't hear you, but I'm being told that you're being heard by other people on the show. So what we're going to do is when we start talking and I ask you a question, and we'll try it with the guests too. Yeah, this is fun. This is live radio at its best. I'll ask you a question. Put up your hand when you're done, and if they can hear you and I can't hear you, that's fine with me. And hopefully the guests can hear you and I can hear the guests. So
Can you
we'll
hear
see
me,
what's
Matt?
going on. I mean, sometimes this stuff, Jack, can't be helped. Normally we have no problems, but we'll go ahead and we'll give it a shot. So yeah, I just got told again that you are being heard. So I don't know why I'm not hearing you, but we're supposed to have Anthony Cervino coming on here in a few minutes, and we'll both ask him our questions. And like I said, when you're done talking, just kind of give me a sign, and I'll go ahead because I know you can hear me. So this is really crazy.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So, Jack, before Anthony comes on, I was talking a little bit about Clowney, again, going on injured reserve for the Titans, which – to me, all this stuff about Clowney, they've been talking, he's a great athlete. He's, he's worth the money. And, everybody was looking to sign him. And here he goes back on injured reserve. He's been there for the last few years. And I really don't believe his impact on a team really is justified by any numbers. And every year it seems, he's getting hurt. What's your thoughts on that, Jack?
I mean, talk about a guy who's getting by on talent. That's Clowney. He's been getting by on talent the whole time. When he was the number 1 overall draft choice out of college, there were some red flags, but they thought they'd put him beside J.J. Watt at Houston and that he would come along nicely. And he was a very good player there, but he played out his option. And now, from Seattle to Tennessee, a guy that caliber shouldn't be knocking around that much.
Yeah, so can you bring that out here so I can listen?
Yeah,
So we're
say mute your side.
okay. So what I'm gonna do, Jack, I can hear you on this over here, and of course it's gonna be a little bit on delay. So bear with
I
me
think you're faking
as we
it,
go here,
Matt.
Jack. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, Jack, I can hear you on this over here.
We got to fill up the airtime, Mac. Let's talk football. I've changed my pick. I thought the Jets.
Remember, Jack, I'm hearing you like a minute after you say things. So if I start laughing, while you're,
don't want to hear me.
if I start laughing when you're saying something else,
You laugh all the time at me anyway.
you'll know why. Okay.
That's no different. The Jets, okay. And the more I think of it, they're not going to win today. They're basically going with a patched up secondary. Justin Herbert played a bad game against the Dolphins last week.
Yes.
Justin Herbert's due for a big bounce back game. I mean, he's in contention for Rookie of the Year. And Justin Herbert, I look for him to have a very big game. Put up about 400 yards passing against the Jets. I'm going to make a prediction. We're going to look at the number 426 passing yards. I'm predicting he gets against the Jets. And the Chargers beat the Jets by 17.
So anyway, Jack, like I said, I'm on delay here, so I'm hearing you like a minute after you're saying things. So it's going to be a little confusing for me as I got both things going at once. But we'll push on. So you made a point about the Jets not winning about a minute ago. I really believe the Jets have a shot this week, Jack. This is probably the only time that they have a shot at winning this year.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the Chargers have lost.
We do have Anthony Cervino backstage right now. I am going to try and bring him on. Anthony, just to let you know before you come on, he can hear me right now. I am having technical difficulties, so I got two tablets going at once, and I'm trying to keep up with the whole show here. Hopefully I can hear you right live, and I'm having a problem with Jack right now, but hopefully I can hear you live. And it's maybe it's on my end with the speakers or something, people coming in. So let's bring Anthony up and let's see if I can hear Anthony.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear Anthony. It's got to be on my end now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So
you can hear.
Anthony,
Jack, but you can't hear Mac.
this is.
No, I
right
can hear
right
Jack, and I can't hear Mac.
I can hear you on the other one.
It's
all right, so it's definitely on my end.
Anthony, we have the big talent scouts from the major networks. This is our audition today.
So this is just crazy. Anyway, what I'm going to do, Anthony, I'm going to ask you your top fantasy picks for this Sunday, and then I got 3 games for you. So kind of just raise your hand to me when you're done with the picks. So, because I know the viewers at home can hear you, and then we'll go into the 3 games, and we'll break them down the best we can. And as you're giving the fantasy best fantasy plays, I'm going to see if I can hit my speakers real quick and see if I can get you. I can hear you, and we'll go on from there. So go ahead and give us your best plays first, Anthony, if you could.
Okay, so let's start with the quarterback position, like I like to usually do. Lamar Jackson, he's not playing like the player that he was in fantasy football last year, but this is going to be one of those games against Tennessee that I think Lamar Jackson really gets going. Tennessee is giving up a lot of points on a defensive side of the ball, a lot of points to the quarterback position, and I know that Tennessee was able to contain Lamar Jackson last year in the postseason, but Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, I have a lot of question marks about that team in the playoffs, but in the regular season, they've been one of the better regular season teams in the past 2 seasons, really, since Lamar Jackson took over for Jameis Winston. Another quarterback that I like, Cam Newton. The past 2 games, Cam looks like he's turning it around. The Patriots are winning. Cam Newton's fantasy production is trending in the right direction, and now you get another good matchup against the Houston Texans in Houston. Bill Belichick is 10-2 or 8-2, I believe, in the past 10 games versus Houston. This is going to be a big game for Cam Newton because the Patriots are going to rip off 3 in a row. Cam has to be busy, especially as a rusher. I think this is one of those games he goes for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns, with his legs, not even as a thrower. Let's go to the running back position. A couple of big guys out. Joe Mixon is ruled out. DeAndre Swift is ruled out with the concussion. So the running back position this week's a little bit more dried up than it's been all year. But you do get Nick Chubb back. And last week, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they both had monster games. And this backfield, it's one of those backfields with the way Kevin Stefanski uses his running backs. They clearly want to run the football. They want to get both of those guys as many touches as possible. And you get not the best matchup against Philly, but it is a Cleveland home game. I think we are going to see a lot of Kareem Hunt, a lot of Nick Chubb. You can start both of them in your fantasy lineups really this week and all season long. Let's go with another running back I like, a little bit more under the radar, Salvon Ahmed from the Miami Dolphins. Myles Gaskin is expected to return next week, but we're going to get Ahmed as the featured back most likely for the second straight week. He had a good game, right around 70, 80 yards last week and a touchdown, and now he's going to be featured again most likely in his upcoming matchup. Who do they play? I'm drawing a blank here. Miami goes to Denver, and Denver's been giving up a lot of production to running backs, a lot of touchdowns in the second half of the season. I believe they gave up 4 combined touchdowns to Devonta Booker and Josh Jacobs combined last week. I'm looking for a big game out of Salvon Ahmed. And let's go to the wide receiver position now. A couple of my wide receiver plays. I like Terry McLaurin from Washington going against Cincinnati. Their secondary is a little bit banged up. Alex Smith, 2 games played, back-to-back games with over 325 yards passing, went for 390 last week. I think this is going to be another good game for Terry McLaurin, who's one of the better young wide receivers in the league. And I like Justin Jefferson. Let's talk about a rookie that I really like. And Jefferson has had a couple of games over 100 yards receiving. He gets Dallas this week, and their defense has been playing better, but their secondary is all banged up. I don't know if they're going to have an answer for Justin Jefferson. I see him going for over 100 yards today.
Is Des Bryant going to create a little bit of a buzz today because it's his first game in quite a while?
Des Bryant. No, Des played I think 2 weeks ago, and they sent him back to the practice squad.
He's activated for the game today.
Oh, I didn't see that, but no, he's cooked.
Okay. One of the things that bothers me, Anthony, about the NFL, the injury reports. I mean, all teams have to submit them because of the gambling factor.
Yeah.
And we see a bunch of guys always put down as doubtful. They wind up playing. I think that just confuses it. I'd like to see no injury report, period. I kind of like harking back all the way to Super Bowl III when Don Maynard had a slightly pulled hamstring. He was 80 to 90% of himself, and Joe Namath threw him a bomb that just barely missed being caught. And they said if Maynard was at 100%, it would have gotten a touchdown. But the Colt defense didn't know he had that slight injury, so they had to guard against the long pass all game, and that played a factor in the outcome. I just wish there was no injury report, period. I think it just confuses things, and it doesn't help as far as the gambling factor goes.
Even if they took away an injury report, with the way social media is and all the beat writers, maybe it won't be an official injury report, but a beat writer is going to tell you, okay, this guy's banged up, this guy's not practicing. So you can do away with the injury report, but the media and the coverage that sports and really the NFL gets, you know everything. Like we have information as Bill Belichick, really.
Go ahead, Mac.
Okay, Anthony, I want to get into the big 3 games with you. And last week you made a great prediction with the Rams that came through, and you really you nailed it. So I want to take a look a little bit at the Titans and the Ravens. Many could consider this an early playoff game, huge game to both teams. Titans fighting for first with the Colts. the Ravens trying to stay alive and get back to their winning ways. What do you see there? Do you see the Titans with their running game, since the Ravens defense has dropped off a little bit, going ahead and winning this game, or do the Ravens with Jackson get it together with a I don't know if Des Bryant's going to help them or not, but do you see them getting something together and maybe pulling this one out?
I mean, Tennessee, they knocked Baltimore out of the playoffs last year. But as I said earlier, talking about Lamar Jackson in fantasy, Lamar Jackson in the postseason, he hasn't figured it out yet. But in the regular season, he's been one of the better regular season quarterbacks since he's taken over for Joe Flacco now over 2 years ago. So I actually like Baltimore in this game. I like Baltimore to cover the 6 points, too.
Is it really fair, Anthony, to say Lamar Jackson hasn't figured it out in the postseason? Last year, okay, but the year before, he came in relief for Joe Flacco, and he actually did a decent job, in my opinion.
Who has he beaten in the regular season?
Well, he's only had a couple of games, and only one game as a starter. I don't think there's enough of a body of work to quite criticize him yet for the postseason.
He's 0-2 versus Patrick Mahomes, and his most notable regular season win was last year at home against San Francisco when the weather played a big factor. He doesn't, I mean, even last Sunday in New England, how do you lose that game?
Yeah, well, obviously the Ravens having a lot of problems. Some of the problems may be attributed to the offensive coordinator, because Lamar Jackson was saying the other teams know what he has planned, the plays that the Ravens are going to be running. Obviously, there's discontent. Just because a guy isn't complaining that much, it doesn't mean there's not a lot of turmoil behind the scenes.
I think they're going to figure it out this week. You know, Greg Roman has been he's one of the better offensive coordinators. His play calling has worked up to this point. The Ravens are scoring. I don't know if they did last week, but maybe leading up to last week, they had the most consecutive games scoring 20 points. So I don't know what Lamar Jackson's talking about. That offense works.
I think, Anthony, that they need another runner besides Jackson to run with the ball. I think that, some other running back has got to step it up, because without that runner, being a threat, that option doesn't really work. I mean, they've got to be able to figure out where they can give the ball, to that running back and have some holes for him to go through to make Jackson a little bit more of a threat. And right now they really don't have that. So let's push on to the Packers and Colts, Anthony. The Colts need to keep pace with the Titans. They played a really good game against them recently. They could take first place with a win and the Titans lose. And the Packers may be looking in the rearview mirror. The Vikings surge. The Vikings playing Viking ball again, running the ball, using play action pass, and their defense has stepped it up. I mean, the Colts almost made me a believer last week. I think this is a huge game for them, not only for first place, but kind of make a statement that they're for real in the AFC.
This is a huge game for both the Packers and the Colts. The Packers sitting at 7-2. I know the Bears have lost 5 in a row, but they're sitting at 5-5 and will be separated by 1 or 2 games if Green Bay would lose today. And also Green Bay, when they play teams like the 49ers, teams like the Colts, people think Green Bay is a soft defense because these good running teams can shove it down their throats and really dominate the game. If either Jonathan Taylor or Jordan Wilkins on the Colts, if one of them has a big game in between the tackles, I think the Colts are going to win this game. But if Green Bay can shut down the running game, they're going to win this game easily. But for me, the big matchup is Colts running backs versus the Green Bay defense. That's going to dictate the game.
Do we tend to underrate the Colts defense? Because arguably they have the best defense in the league, arguably. And no one talks about them as being an elite defensive team the same way they talk about, let's say, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I think a lot of it is, the defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus. They have Darius Leonard, but how many stars? They don't have a lot of marquee names on that side of the ball. They're not very flashy like Pittsburgh can be. They have TJ Watt and all these other marquee players. The Colts just go out there and get the job done. So maybe they're
Now-
if they're underrated, maybe they want to be underrated. I know one thing: they have the most defensive and special teams touchdowns in the league. They have 5 so far.
Yeah.
They're
And
scoring
Frank
every
Reich-
possible way.
Frank Reich, being a former quarterback, obviously knows defenses, what he wants.
Those are great points. So for my last game to cover with you, Anthony, we're going to go back with the Rams with you against the Bucks. The Rams can stay with the Seahawks with a win here. They seem to have a newfound running game. Their defense is playing lights out. They're going against the Bucks with Tom Brady and all his weapons. And they seem to stumble against good defenses. The Saints defense played terrible last game. But with a good defense, Tampa Bay has problems. I like the Rams in this spot, especially after the big win by the Bucks. I think they're a very underrated team. And what are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to continue siding with Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know the Bears gave him an issue, and then the Saints gave him an issue twice, but they've dominated almost every other game. Jared Goff, Tom Brady, they faced off in the Super Bowl, and what stopped the Rams offense that year was that Bill Belichick defense. Now, this defense in Tampa Bay, it's not a Bill Belichick defense, but it's still a top 5 defense in the league. And Jared, talk about Tom Brady having issues with good defenses this year. Jared Goff is terrible when you throw a top 5 to 10 defense at him. And I think that's going to be the difference of the game. I think Jared Goff makes more mistakes and ends up giving the game away.
You mentioned the success that the Ram defense had against Tom Brady. It was the year before last, but a number of the same players remain on the Ram defense. Do you suppose they're going to use basically the same game plan that worked?
Different defensive coordinator this time around. A couple of years ago it was Wade Phillips going against Tom Brady. Now I'm drawing a blank on who the defensive coordinator is, but it's a completely different system and really a completely different defense. Your best corner now, and their secondary has been playing really good, but there's no more Eric Weddle, there's no more LaMarcus Joyner, and yes, they did bring in Jalen Ramsey, but the other cornerbacks on this defense are being carried by Ramsey.
And just mentioning last Thursday night, Patrick Peterson has been one of the great corners in the league for a decade. He seemed like he was lost in the last game, like way past his peak. It was awful, or an awful performance. Do you think it was just an aberration, or his better days are way behind him?
Patrick Peterson's a corner. He has regressed, but it looked like this year he turned it back around. He looked like a player back on the rise. But when you're matching up against DK Metcalf is, I know he was a 4th round pick, but his workout metrics were off the charts everywhere. But with his agility score, and that caused him to slip. But that pairing with Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, you can make the case they're both top 12 receivers. And an aging Patrick Peterson, he's 30 years old. Yeah, he's going to have an issue.
Okay.
One more question for you, Anthony, before we let you go. How much do you think the Saints will be affected? Do you think they're still a playoff team without Drew Brees? Do you think they even get in the playoffs this year?
Right now, I believe they're in first place. But can they make a run without? I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't put my money on it. But we will know a lot today because, the Atlanta Falcons, they were a defense that were terrible earlier in the year. They fired the head coach, and Raheem Morris, another defensive guy, takes over. And I believe they're, 2-1 or 3-1 since he's been the interim head coach. The defense is playing better. But this is a game to where Sean Payton should be able to put a game plan together and pick up a win. If they struggle in this game, I think they're going to have an issue moving forward.
Anthony, were you shocked?
I don't know who their quarterback is.
Well, Taysom Hill is going to be starting for the Saints, but I was shocked considering that Jameis Winston was considered the primary backup, and he did come in last week when Breeze went out, and he didn't play poorly either, that Jameis Winston isn't starting. I mean, was that a little bit of a surprise to you?
I don't even know if Sean Payton officially named Taysom Hill, because he later came out after that Adam Schefter report saying that Taysom would start. Sean Payton said, listen, I did not name a starter yet, and I don't know if he's officially named a starter yet. And what I believe, you bring up, Super Bowl III, I'm sure there were plenty. I'm sure Don Shula and Tom Landry did it, platooning quarterbacks in the same game. That's what I think we see today from Sean Payton. I think that he goes back and forth with Jameis and Taysom Hill.
Good.
Well, that was it. Super Bowl III. That was the Jets over the Colts. That's when John Unitas came in for Earl Morrall. When Earl Morrall kind of imploded at the end, but Johnny U's arm was gone. He was hurt, so on. So he was ineffective that game.
I'll tell you, Jack loves talking about the Jets Super Bowl 1969. He really loves talking about that Super Bowl. Hey, Anthony, sorry for the technical difficulties, but it was great having you on as always. You're a great guest, and you give us a lot of great information. So enjoy Sunday, Anthony, and we'll see you next Sunday, and hopefully I'm up and running better next Sunday, my friend. Have a great day, my friend.
Great stuff, Anthony. I always learn a lot after listening to you. Thanks.
Right. See you next week.
So there we go. We have, as you see, somebody else waiting backstage. What we're going to do, Jack, is we're going to take a quick break, and we'll get back with Robert Butler from Skope. He'll be coming up next. And I'm going to still try and host the show while not being able to hear anybody. This is nuts, but it's fun. I guess you got to expect this when you're doing something online. So we're going to take an official timeout. We'll be back with Robert right after these few messages, folks. Stick with us.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and the station.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Oh, we're getting killed.
Yeah. Oh, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Picked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I've made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. a lot of kids try it at this age. So
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying I'm asking to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he gonna know?
you think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, though, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And right now, folks, we're in the middle of what I call almost a catastrophe on my end, but we're doing the best we can. I can't hear Jack. I can't hear the guests. So we're kind of doing hand signals so that I know when to run my mouth. There you go.
We're doing signs.
Coming up in 1 second. There you go. Coming up in 1 second, we'll have Robert Butler with the Great Sports Skope Show. I'm going to read this to you real quick before we get to Robert. If you're interested in sponsoring the Mac and Jack Sports Show, we have great rates for you. Product or service, our fast-growing show reached over 10,000 people in the last few weeks on Facebook alone. We have a Facebook page, Twitter account, Instagram site, all available for you, and are affiliated with major sports groups throughout the country. Our advertising includes a live read on air and a spot on our awesome website, Max Sports Insiders, where we'll place your ad and your link that will bring our hundreds of website viewers right to your company or site. For online purchases of your product or service, send your inquiries to my email at macman, MACMAN, period, 121062 at yahoo.com. So, Mac, there we go. As the hesitation and hearing my own voice is playing into my background as I'm trying to do a live read, and we're going to bring Robert on, and I won't hear him. I know you will, so kind of steer me in the right direction, but we have a few topics that are very interesting that I want to get to with Robert. Robert, the host of Sports Skope, that's with a K, Skope. He does a great job down there, and we're happy to have him on every Sunday with us as he guides us through with his knowledge and expertise and gives us his opinions in the sports world. Here he is. Come on in, Robert. How you doing today?
Hey.
I can't hear you. So I know
Rob,
Jack can.
Jack told Mac I said hello.
Rob,
As you know, doing a live on-stream podcast or sports show, it can get crazy sometimes.
Rob,
and that's
you
one
hear
of those
Matt?
days. So,
Robert,
what I want to go over with you
Yes.
is
can hear
a few
Matt.
topics.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, a few topics that interest me and I think will interest the viewers, listeners. First of all, Mark Sanchez, of course, we know the ex-quarterback from the New York Jets who was the last quarterback to bring him to the playoffs. He was giving advice to Sam Darnold saying, if you're still injured this year, don't play. Save yourself for the next season. The Jets have done nothing really to help build a team around him. And do you think that's good advice? I mean, if he does take a break, there's no tape for any other team to look at. And how would that sway the Jets from drafting, a quarterback in the first round, Robert?
Yeah, he's put into a rough situation there. That being said, I don't know if I would take Mark Sanchez's advice there, Jack. He's a guy that had some work ethic issues. Now, he did get off to a really good start with that Jets team under Rex Ryan. Of course, Rex Ryan has the tendency to run quarterbacks down. You remember they got to the AFC Championship game. I want to say a couple times they're deep in the playoffs. First 2 years, his play started to decrease, Jack, and the same thing happened under Rex Ryan with Tyrod Taylor. But as far as playing hurt and all that stuff, I'm not sure if you send the right message. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't type of situation, depending on the relevance or how bad the actual injury is. He's starting to get this reputation of being hurt. Remember, he had mono last year. He's had several injuries. So even if he knows in the back of his mind, Jack, if he is on the trading block, he wants to stop that narrative, Jack, from being injury prone. There is a chance, I'm sure. There's a lot of talk up there and around the nation that he may get traded and the team's going to take Trevor Lawrence. Well, he wants to make a good last impression. So I think he definitely should probably tough it out and play, especially these last few games down the stretch.
What I don't understand is a player is being paid to perform. He's collecting a paycheck. It's not up to him to decide, I'm not playing. Okay, the doctors have to determine whether he's injured bad enough not to play. If they make the determination that he's well enough to play, it's not his choice. And if he elects not to play, don't give him his paycheck. Okay, don't give him his paycheck. And if he knows he's going to get docked that money, believe me, he's going to be on the field. So that's what I don't understand, what Mark Sanchez is telling Sam Darnold, just don't play. Like, Sam Darnold shouldn't have any type of decision in this whether he should play or not.
Right, yeah, Mark Sanchez is a guy that I don't know if I would want to get the best advice from a Mark Sanchez. I mean, what has he ever won? Has he won a bunch of Super Bowls? I might want to talk to a Tom Brady or somebody like that. A player with a better resume than Mark Sanchez. I know, Jack, I'm pretty sure you remember the Hard Knocks. These guys are eating hot dogs on the sidelines, in the stands and stuff. Very unprofessional, mailing it in. Is that part of Rex Ryan? Is it part of Sanchez? He was known as a little bit of a party guy, a typical USC quarterback from that time period that played under Pete Carroll. So I'm not sure if I want to listen to Mark Sanchez. And you're right. Sometimes these guys, Jack, get lost in the translation of the game rather than looking at how much money they're really being made. Yes, you're a professional. You're paid to do a job. If I said, well, you know what, the doctor cleared me to work, but I just don't want to work today. Well, no, you don't get a paycheck. You paid for your services.
So, guys, another topic I want to touch on, and this is relative to Mark Sanchez too. Is it fair that good to great players are remembered for bad or embarrassing plays? And a few come to mind with me. Jim Marshall, defensive end for the Vikings, a great defensive end. Of course, he got turned around and ran the other way for a touchdown. Bill Buckner with the baseball grounder through his legs. He was a great infielder. And Mark Sanchez with the butt fumble, of course, comes to mind. And then Leon Lett, who was a really good defensive tackle. He fumbles the ball going for a blocked field goal, and he was going to recover it and fumbles it into the end zone, and the other team recovers it for a touchdown. So when I think of these players, and when a lot of people think of these players, these are the first things that jump out in their minds when many of them had really good to great careers.
Yeah, I do think that they shouldn't now be criticized for something like that. The game is very fast. The ball is slippery. Things happen. Now, that being said, Bill Belichick, Jack, he coaches his players not to lunge in the end zone for touchdowns. When the player holds the ball over the goal line, sometimes the defender knocks that ball out of his hands through the end zone for a touchback. That is a 14-point turnaround. So for plays like that, I don't know, Jack, if you remember about 2 years ago, the Rams and the the Packers, Ty Montgomery, Mike McCarthy tells him, do not run that ball out of the end zone. He runs the ball out of the end zone. That ball is fumbled. The Rams recover. They go back and score a touchdown. The Rams, the Packers ultimately lose that game. They go on a losing streak. They didn't make the playoffs that year. If it's a situation, if a bang play happens, I think us as fans could be too hard on players, especially if it's in a big game. But if it's a lazy play where you're going against coaching and you're trying to do too much and make it more about you, Jack, you remember that NFC Championship game about 10 years ago between the Vikings and the Saints? Brett Favre throws a lazy pass there for an interception when they had a shot at a field goal, knowing he should have not done that, especially him playing injured. That was
he had
bit
a
of
great
a selfish
season
play.
for the Vikings that year.
Huh?
He had a great season.
Yeah, he had a great year.
For the Vikings,
Yeah, but he was that was a really careless play from a guy that turns the ball over a lot, you know?
Yeah. You know, we were talking before early in the show about Mac was wishing Michael Strahan a happy birthday, and he was talking about the record sack that Michael Strahan had on Brett Favre, and the way Mark Gastineau at first congratulated Michael Strahan, but then took it back. And Mac felt, at least sounded like it was a legitimate sack. It was Brett Favre completely tanked that sack for Michael Strahan. And the bad part about it was, not only did it falsify the record, it ticked off Brett Favre's offensive line, who was working so hard to prevent Michael Strahan from getting the record. He insulted his own offensive line by just faking the handoff and just falling into Michael Strahan's arms. And if I were Michael Strahan, I wouldn't have wanted to get the record that way. I mean, the commissioner should have just, immediately said, no, it doesn't count, case closed. It was deliberate on Favre's part. I'm not saying he should have necessarily fined Favre, but, let him know it's just not acceptable. He tanked the play.
Yes, I remember that. I saw that game live. I was actually living in the city at that time. And I thought to myself, okay, he's going over there. Favre's team, I don't know if it was Minnesota at the time or it was Green Bay.
Green Bay.
They had the game in hand. It was over with. We get it. But this is a serious game. Those stats are sacred to a lot of the longtime fans. It's a game of integrity. This is not a kid's game. You don't do that. I remember that. He had a great year that year. But, hey, you got to earn everything. None of this, you tell the offensive line, missed the block on purpose. I'm going to lay down. No, I didn't like that either. I didn't like it then. I was 18, 20 years ago. I don't like it now. Yeah.
I don't think he told his offensive line what he was going to do. I think they were surprised. Like he wheeled around, faked the handoff, and then just took a couple of steps forward where Michael Strahan could meet him. And then he went down very gently. The moment Strahan came to him, Brett Favre hit the deck as soon as he touched him.
I thought he said something to one of his guards. I'll have to go back and see the tape.
Maybe I'm wrong there.
Yeah.
What I heard, they weren't too happy with Michael Strahan.
No, I didn't like that.
With Brett Favre, his own teammates. Yeah.
Okay, so Jack, I disagree with both of you. I really think Brett Favre had nowhere to go, and he just fell down because he didn't want to get hurt.
You're a Giants
That's
fan.
what I think that was. But anyway, you might be right.
Max on a tight
Robert, we have we have offensive coordinators out there that I believe, and I've seen this at the lower levels, I believe they outthink the offense and calling plays. When something is working, for instance, a running game, they'll go ahead and they'll try and pass more than they were running and forget about the running game. A great example was the Philly Eagles against the Giants last week, where the Philadelphia Eagles were running on the Giants very well, and for some reason they stopped. Both running backs, in fact, one broke one for a 55-yard touchdown. Sanders was running. He was getting like 6 yards per carry, and all of a sudden the offensive coordinator says, the heck with that. Let's just start throwing the ball. Now, I don't know if the Giants might have still won the game if they did that, but I don't understand why, just like Dallas has done in the past when they had a great offensive line and they decided to throw the ball and they were running the ball all over the other teams. All of a sudden, the offense coordinator comes up and says, okay, we're going to start spreading the field out and throwing the ball. I've never got that. I never got it at the lower levels, and I sure don't get it at the pro levels, Robert.
Yes, I do think that is an issue. Sometimes you can overthink the room. A lot of these offensive coordinators are guys that are in my age group. They're in their 30s. They grew up watching guys that want to, air quote, run the ball, stop the run. I grew up under a guy like Jeff Fisher, who wants to run the ball up the middle when it's not there. Now, that being said, you can overdo things. This is a game that's always being struggled for balance. You look at guys like Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray took a really bad shot. He had a shoulder injury the other day off of running that ball out of the shotgun. There's not enough basic running plays to just run the ball off left tackle when you know you've got the edge at running back. You want to show how cute you are. If you look at, say, Andy Reid doing all these gadget plays and everything. Sometimes I think he's gotten a little too caught up into that. You got to do more power, traditional power running game. Now notice the Steelers, Jack, are doing that now. They're doing a lot of these shuttle passes and sweeps and all this stuff behind the line of scrimmage when James Conner can just walk it in for a 2-yard touchdown. Sometimes those plays have been getting knocked down at the line of scrimmage. You guys are told to kick field goals now when they had it on the 1-yard line. I remember Dallas, Romo said he finally admitted that he wanted to get his stats up and get the touchdown instead of just handing the ball off to Murray or whoever, Elliott, to get the easy touchdown. So you could overthink the room. I think that is turning into a problem, and especially when the weather starts to change. Sometimes you just got to just do the basic run and play and get the easy first down.
You know what bothers me? Offensive coordinators. I think they're not necessary to call plays with an experienced quarterback. I mean, you have a guy who's been the starting quarterback a number of years, established, a veteran quarterback like a Ben Roethlisberger. Why does he need an offensive coordinator telling him what to do? Why does Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, even a young quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, they know what they're doing in there. They don't need an offensive coordinator calling the plays for them. What is an offensive coordinator? A guy who was a player who just retired. Why is he so much smarter? Because he's a few years older and now they give him the title of coach? I mean, it's different on defense because defense a lot of times doesn't have one particular leader. They might have 2 or more guys who are leaders. So, but then on offense, it's the quarterback who has to be the leader. He has to be the take charge guy. And he has a feel of what's working and what's not because he's on the field. You could send in plays as a suggestion, so on from the sideline. But I hate the idea every single play the quarterback's being told what to run.
Yeah, I do believe now that even in the college games, more quarterbacks are getting the go-ahead to call audibles, guys like Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning. But I do think that the offensive coordinator, they're looking at 3 or 4 plays down the line. They're looking at deeper situations. I kind of like the help of an offensive coordinator helping me. I mean, these guys are worried about everything as a quarterback, blocking situations, protection schemes, and all that stuff. And it is good to see because, a lot of times a quarterback can't see when a particular player goes out, like in a defensive back or something like that, and the offensive coordinator say, well, hey, wait a minute. They have ex-defensive back who's very weak over there coming in, something like that. It is a lot for the quarterback to think about. So I wouldn't want to eliminate that. But, yeah, I do agree with you as far as giving them more audibles to call because when they're down there on the goal line, they got a feel for the weakness and everything. But when you're trying to do like a 13-play drive, the offensive coordinator is already looking ahead. He's got his spreadsheet. If we get over 50, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. I don't want to put too much on the quarterbacks. They've already got a load on them.
Well, I kind of agree a little bit with Jack says and disagrees with Jack says. Normally, when you go into a game, your plays are scripted. The first 20, 25 plays are scripted. They work on that all week in their game plan. I do think that a lot of the quarterbacks go up there and they have 2 plays they can call normally in the huddle, and there's audibles that are read depending on what defense you have. What the formation is, whether they're going to blitz or not. And I think the good quarterbacks notice that, and they'll change the play, and they have the go-ahead to change the play. But I do see what Jack says, and the point being that back when Fran Tarkenton and Terry Bradshaw and these guys were quarterbacks, they could get a feeling for the game and the players, and that's something the offensive coordinator doesn't have. I mean, in the huddle, you have a player that says, hey, listen, I know I can get him on this route, or a lineman says, I can get the best of that linebacker. Let's go with this play. And that's something that maybe the offensive coordinator can't get a grip on that the quarterback does have. But I do think that the offensive coordinator is needed, especially in game planning for games coming up, because all the film study they do, the matchups they do, all that stuff, even though quarterbacks are involved in that, I think that they do need an offensive coordinator. But I also think what Jack is saying is correct, too, that the quarterback should have a little leeway on calling plays, especially in the huddle when they know that they're getting the best of somebody on the field and that they can get the best of somebody.
Yeah, Jack, it makes me think about Byron Leftwich, who's probably younger than Tom Brady.
Yeah. I mean, in that situation, I'm sure Brady wields the power and he defers to Brady what Brady wants. But the nature of the game has changed a lot. Mac and myself like to go back to the old-time players like Johnny Unitas. Johnny Unitas couldn't stand his head coach, Don Shula, because Don Shula, unlike Weeb Eubank, the coach before, started sending in plays for Johnny Unitas to run. And Johnny Unitas was highly insulted. Like, you're going to tell me what play to run? Because that was the quarterback's domain at the time. It was unheard of. You tell a quarterback what play to run.
Oh, wow. Now, I will say this, Jack, and I know he probably wants to move on. Sometimes quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, for instance, they want to get pass happy. And sometimes you just need to just basically run the ball. I remember Peyton Manning, this was on NFL Films, him having a blow up with Jeff Saturday on the sideline. Because Saturday said, hey, maybe down in the red zone on the one, let's run it in every now and then, Peyton. And then Peyton goes, hey, no, Peyton, sometimes you have to be reeled in. We know you want to pass it every time. As soon as a guy gets a running game, he wins a Super Bowl in 2007.
I definitely agree that there has to be some coaching there. Whether an offensive coordinator or offensive assistant coach, whatever you want to call them, there definitely needs to be checks and balances because, as you say, there are a lot of quarterbacks that rather throw than hand the ball off. And, it's just something that a quarterback likes to do. Me being a former quarterback, I agree with that. But you do have to have those checks and balances. Got to get reeled in sometimes. So, and the last subject I want to get to with Robert is this has to do with the NBA. It's not a football question, but it does pique my interest. They ran an investigation on a team with the Milwaukee Bucks being one of them about tampering in the NBA. They're investigating them for tampering, but yet players tamper all the time, bringing in other players to their team. So is it tampering when only the general manager in the organization does it, or doesn't that include the players? And if you're going to call tampering, I think that should go all the way around.
Yes, I do think so. If you guys don't recall, remember Chris Paul, the NBA blocked a trade from him going to the Lakers to play with Kobe Bryant. As far as tampering, I understand what Adam Silver, he's simply trying to appease the small market general managers and owners around the league. He's I think the real issue in the NBA is this player development league right now. I want everybody to get paid too, but a lot of these players, they are undeveloped coming into the league. Jack, since when's the last time have you seen a number one overall pick take the team to the playoffs the next year. It's very rare. And then so tampering becomes an issue because when these players finally, Jack, develop, they go off to a bigger market. They take $100 million. They take less money and go to the superstar team. It's often in the bigger market or the team with another star, and then you're stuck right there. So I think that's the issue where tampering is becoming more of an issue because these other teams feel like they're in the same cycle. We get a 19-year-old kid. We finally get him coached up, and time he gets the end of his contract, he's already talking to his buddy with the Team X over here, and he's going.
I think, Rob, I think big markets have expanded. It's not like it was years ago, just New York and Los Angeles. They're going wherever. I mean, look at Gordon Hayward, the 4-year deal he had. He's gone to the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, and Michael Jordan's been one of the worst owners in sports. You talk about how competitive MJ is. I haven't seen it as an owner. He's been completely non-competitive for a lot of years. But finally, like with Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball in the draft, Charlotte's going to be fun to watch. They're going to be, arguably a playoff team next year, a good chance. And they're headed in the right direction. But some people feel that contract is awful. $30 million a year for 4 years, $120 million. I happen to think it's worth the gamble for Charlotte because they've been so irrelevant for so many years. And getting LaMelo Ball, if he's going to be a star player, okay, if he's going to be really electrifying and Gordon Hayward stays healthy, Charlotte all of a sudden becomes a destination place because they got MJ. And no one is better at recruiting if he really tries hard enough than MJ. If he could show other players, we're ready to win now. You come with me.
Right. Jack, I don't know if you recall that Charles Barkley and MJ haven't spoken in years.
Yeah, I know.
Charles Barkley said you hired too many yes men down there. You hired, and Jordan took that personally. Yeah. I'm like you. He has not been a great owner. I do like the fact that he took in Melo Ball because Dad, Lamar Ball, is in the public eye. He's often opinionated, and maybe, just maybe, the embarrassment of LeVar Ball criticizing Jordan in the media may buck the trend, may push him a little bit to get those competitive player juices going and make him be put a little bit more thought into putting together a good team. So maybe this works out for the better for Jordan. I think it would be great to see him have a successful organization there. A lot of money there for a guy that's been injured, but you know what? I'm really okay with the LaMelo Ball just because of Lamar Ball. Plus, Melo the son's supposed to be a better scorer than his brother. I
hope we hear nothing about the dad. I mean, he strikes me as the type who couldn't make it as a player. He's living his life through his sons. He's trying to elevate himself, and we're going to hear the tales about what a great player he was. From what I heard, didn't he play Division III basketball and average 2 points a game? Something to that effect. And
all hat, no cattle. But he's Lamar Ball's going to be Lamar Ball. He can't put a muzzle on it too long. He might make it through training camp. He might make it through January, February. But this guy is going to be running his mouth to the media. And quite frankly, if I'm somebody like me, if I have my show, if he wants to do an interview and dog out Jordan, it's great for ratings.
Okay, guys, that's it for Robert's segment. I didn't hear a thing he said, but I did hear it like 5 seconds later. Robert, you did a great job as always.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
good luck on the Sports Scope. Tune in and check out his podcast. He's always out there doing his thing in sports. He does a great job over there. Robert, thanks for coming in. We'll see you again next week where hopefully I can hear you. And we'll go ahead and we'll let you go now and we'll get back to football for it.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great day, Robert.
Thanks,
all right.
So there you go, Jack. We're going to go ahead and take our last break. We'll be back, and we'll be talking football and finish up, taking a look at all the games, especially the locals that are playing. And so We'll be back right after these messages, folks. Stick around, and we'll see you in a few.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. Each year, AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects, ranging from Americanism in our schools to supporting the Special Olympics and Boy Scouts of America. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
When you hear the word asthma, you probably think of shortness of breath, coughing, or inhalers. Lots of things can trigger asthma, but the fact is that asthma doesn't just attack, it can kill. But with proper medical management, asthma is controllable. If you experience shortness of breath, wheezing, tightness in your chest, or persistent nighttime coughing, you may have asthma. See your doctor and get the facts. You'll breathe easier. For more information, call 211 Info Line. A message from the Connecticut Department of Public Health, keeping Connecticut healthy.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
If you talk and they will hear you every single time.
Now we're getting killed.
Yeah, well, Kyle's not here.
How come?
Kicked off the team. Didn't Tim tell you? Kyle and some other kids got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. Zero tolerance. He's out for the season.
Come on, it's the first offense, right?
That we know of. But why should that matter? He knew not to drink. I made it clear to Matt that's what we expect from him. What have you said to Tim?
Nothing really. You know, a lot of kids try it at this age, so
Yeah, well, a lot of kids don't try it too. I'm not saying that Matt's going to be this perfect kid, but if I don't tell him what we expect and why he shouldn't drink, how's he going to know?
You think kids that age really listen?
They never admit it, Bill, but they hear more than you think.
Talk. They hear you. For more information about talking with kids about underage drinking, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the Mac and Jack Sports Show. We're on Wednesday through Sunday, 8 to 10 a.m. I'm your host, Mac, and my co-host and your co-host, the great Jack Hirsch. We just had two great guests on. We had Anthony Cervino, who he gave us our fantasy plays for this week. He also broke down some of our games, the top three games for us. We also had on the great Robert Butler, host of Sports Skope, who does a great job with us and does a great job on his podcast. If you see it, check him out. He does a great job over there. So, Jack, we're going to start getting down to our NFL breakdown of the games today, who we like. And again, when you're done, just kind of raise your hand, and I'll go ahead next so that we can try to keep it as fluid as possible for people tuning in. I can't hear Jack or the guests today, so we're kind of winging it the best we can today, and I'll get them that fixed by Wednesday. Jack, the first game we got is the Cardinals against the Seahawks. No, the story they played that is the
Max.
Eagles
It's over.
versus the
They
Browns.
played, Max.
The Browns haven't really beaten a really good team this year. The Eagles, with a big loss to the Giants, are looking to bounce back and keep control of first place. They do have a big injury to their defensive lineman that won't be playing today. We'll see what happens. The Browns are giving the Eagles 3.5. I like the Eagles, believe it or not, to bounce back this week against the Browns, Jack.
I'll tell you, with Myles Garrett out for Cleveland and him not putting a pass rush on Carson Wentz, I mean, because Myles Garrett is one of the premier tackles in the league, it's going to be a real boost for Carson Wentz as far as giving him a little more time. I think the key is the Cleveland running game with Nick Chubb coming back and Kareem Hunt combining. If the Eagles could stop the Cleveland running game and force Baker Mayfield to pass, they'll have a real chance. Because Baker Mayfield, he hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in his last 2 games. He's been relying primarily on the running game. So the key is, can the Eagles stop the Brown running game? If they can, they'll win. If they can't, they won't. I look for a really tight game, and I've gone back and forth, in that game. Yesterday, I think I said Cleveland is going to win. Today, I think the Eagles are going to win. I'm hedging my bets, but I kind of have a feeling that the Eagles are going to get it done today. I've kind of had a reversal of opinion and win by a field goal.
Okay, so up next we have the Falcons at the Saints. The Falcons are playing really good as of late. The Saints aren't sure who they're starting at quarterback. According to Anthony, I heard what you heard, that Winston wouldn't be starting. The Saints need this win. The Falcons, to stay relevant, have got to beat the Saints. I like, believe it or not, I like the Falcons to upset the Saints here, Jack.
I was looking at strength of schedule, okay, of all the teams in the NFL. Who has the hardest remaining schedule out of the 32 teams in the league? And the one with the hardest schedule going forward is the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they're 3-6, and that doesn't bode well for any little chance they have of waging a comeback and making the playoffs. For this one particular game with Drew Brees out, I mean, Taysom Hill is supposed to be starting. I know Anthony Cervino said they haven't made a decision yet, but that's hard to believe. All indications are Taysom Hill is starting over Jameis Winston, which is quite a surprise because Jameis Winston came from Tampa Bay specifically to New Orleans because he wanted to mimic Teddy Bridgewater, who filled in for Drew Brees just in case. So this way Winston could reestablish his value. But it's going to be interesting, the Saint quarterback situation. I think the Saints will find a way to win because their backups, Hill and Winston, are capable enough to get the job done.
Yeah, I think the Falcons have a shot here without Brees. Definitely, at least keeping within a touchdown. But I think they might even go ahead and upset them this week. We got the Bengals against Washington, a really interesting game to me because Washington got ripped off, I thought, last week by that roughing passer call. They would have won it if they didn't commit that penalty. They would have been able to get the ball and back, or at least they would have been 4th down for Detroit. And they lost the game. Washington's been playing very tough. Their newfound quarterback who came back from that surgery has been playing lights out. The Bengals, of course, with Burrows, they can score. But I like Washington's defense here. I think Washington wins this one, Jack.
People look at the Washington football team's record and they see 2-7 and they think lousy team, lousy culture surrounding the team. But what they don't see is that Washington has arguably the top pass defense in the NFL. They've really been outstanding. And Alex Smith had a great game last week. He came back over the horrific injuries. He's a proven, very good NFL quarterback, And if it wasn't for the Chiefs having Patrick Mahomes, he'd still probably be starting quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. And with Joe Mixon, the excellent running back for the Cincinnati Bengals, injured again, out for them, not playing this game. I like Washington to win with some room to spare. But these are growing pains for Joe Burrow in his rookie year. But Joe Burrow is going to be an outstanding quarterback in this league. And the Bengals did not make a mistake by taking him number 1 overall.
Next we have the Lions at the Panthers. I kind of covered it a little bit. The Lions, they won against Washington, bad call and all. They still are, I don't want to say in the hunt. They're still kind of relevant. They're tied with the Vikings. The Panthers, Teddy Bridgewater, we don't know if he's going to start or not. If he doesn't start, I give the Lions definitely the edge. If he does, man, it's a toss-up. I love the way the Panthers play. But I got to take the Lions today, Jack.
Well, Matt Stafford, their quarterback, his passing hand is supposedly hurt. He's questionable. He's supposed to play. Who knows how these injuries affect the player? No clue. Just because they're on the field, it doesn't mean that they're going to be effective with an injury they have. I mean, it's more important to the Lions this game than the Panthers. Because the Panthers, it's one of those seasons where they're basically given a pass and so on with a new coach developing. But for Matt Patricia and the Lions, they have to at least finish this year at 8-8. I mean, if they have a losing season this year, there's no redeeming value to it. And they're at 4-5. So this is a good opportunity to be at 5-5 and at least be in playoff contention, give the year a little bit of a buzz for them.
Yeah. Next up is the Steelers and the Jaguars. The Steelers, last undefeated team left. On paper, they should kill the Jaguars. The head coach of the Steelers has been out there saying we take this game seriously and that we're not going to take the Jaguars for granted. It's not a trap game. You can say what you want, blah, blah, blah. Listen, the Steelers should easily win this game. The Jaguars are their favorite by 10. I really don't expect the Steelers to lose against the Jaguars. I don't care if it's a trap game or not. I still think they'll win in the end, Jack.
Well, the Jaguars rookie James Robinson has had 3 games of over 100 yards. So they have a running game. And the Jaguars quarterback, Jake Luton, he's kind of auditioning because the way things stand now, if the NFL season ended, the Jets would draft 1, Jacksonville 2. So this is Jake Luton's chance to show Jacksonville, you don't have to draft a quarterback. I can be the guy, and you could trade that pick if we don't win, so on. And you're right. I mean, the Steelers are just too good, unless they have a big letdown or what. And the Steelers' unbeaten season is going to be something that's going to start becoming an issue. Is it going to wear them down come playoff time to continue to remain unbeaten, to keep pushing through? Or is it better to pull back a little bit the way the Indianapolis Colts did years ago? The Colts, if you recall, were 14-0 in the 16-game season. And the coach, Jim Caldwell, basically put in the subs. And I'm not saying through the game, but was no longer trying to win the game, because he thought the unbeaten record was going to become a burden. And I remember Peyton Manning on the sidelines going up to Jim Caldwell saying, put me back in the game, even though the plan was to take him out. And it may have affected New England losing to the Giants in the Super Bowl when they were 18-0. Had New England not kept forging ahead with that unbeaten record, maybe they would have been a little more rested and a little better off, and maybe that would have resulted in them beating the Giants in the Super Bowl. We'll never know. But I'm a believer you go for the gusto, you try to remain unbeaten.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's very hard to be undefeated. It does get in your mind. And eventually, even when Miami going undefeated, they barely beat some not so good teams. In doing so, they turned it back on in the playoffs, won a couple good games, and against a couple good teams. I think it's very hard to be undefeated in the NFL. So, I mean, I don't see the Steelers losing this game, even if it's a trap game. And I think they'll lose a game before the year's out, but it's not this week, Jack.
Mac,
So-
just one quick thing. That unbeaten Miami Dolphin team, they had 3 playoff games. I include the Super Bowl as a playoff game. Their 3 playoff games, they won by a combined total of 17 points. So that wasn't a dominant, team, even though they won beaten. The Miami Dolphin team that repeated the following year's champions was actually a better team, even though they lost a couple of games.
Yeah. So next up, we got the Titans and the Ravens. We touched on this with Anthony and broke it down. The Titans have lost, I think, 3 out of the 4 last games, Jack. Hopefully they can get it back together today with their running game, the big running back, hitting them holes, wearing down the Ravens defense that hasn't been playing that well this year as they did last year anyway. The Ravens have become predictable. I don't think Des Bryant in his first game helps them that much. The Titans defense is still formidable. Again, I don't think as good as last year either. The Ravens are favored by 7. I don't get that. But for some reason, I'm going to go with the Ravens in this game, Jack. I think that they're maybe just a little bit better than the Titans.
Both teams are slumping, and they were elite teams not long ago. I mean, people were thinking both were Super Bowl contenders not long ago, and now they're kind of, taking a couple of steps back. Can the Ravens stop Derrick Henry? Can anyone stop Derrick Henry? And the Titans are going to really be relying very heavily on their running game, on Derrick Henry today. And if Derrick Henry enjoys a really big game and the Ravens can't, stop Derrick Henry, I mean, then the Titans should win the game. I think that's what it comes down to. I think he's the one key guy today, Derrick Henry. When is he not? I mean, but today especially.
Next up, we got the Dolphins and the Broncos. The Dolphins are virtually in a tie with the Bills for the first place over there. They're having a heck of a season. The Broncos, again, a young team. They play competitive each game. I don't see why the Dolphins would lose this game against them. They need it more than the Broncos. It could be a trap game. We don't know, but I still think that the Dolphins should easily beat the Broncos today and continue to challenge for that first place.
Let me tell you, the Dolphins have the easiest schedule in the NFL the remainder of the way. But part of the easiest schedule is this game playing the 3-6 Broncos. But the Dolphins are on a serious upswing. And as crazy as it seems, by the time the playoffs come around, they might be a serious Super Bowl contender. Okay? I mean, Tua's won his first 3 starts, and he's very comfortable in the starter's role. The transition from Fitzpatrick to him, even though it was a little bit bumpy because Fitzpatrick was playing well, we're 3 games into that, and it's fine. It's done. Everyone's settled in, and Dolphins and Bills, it's going down to the wire. I mean, who's going to win the division? In all due respect to New England, who's not going to make a serious run at the 2 teams.
Can you imagine if there were fans, if it was normal, how crazy the Miami fans, Dolphin fans would be going right now? I mean, the young new quarterback, the Dolphins defense playing great, a good running game. I mean, they would be going crazy right now in Miami, Jack.
And it's phenomenal when you consider how bad they were at the beginning of last year. They were completely non-competitive. Just let me a quick word. Not speaking of non-competitive, the Indiana football team was always non-competitive. Football in Indiana, the Hoosiers, I mean, it was a laugh. They played a tough game against Ohio State, losing 42-35. Kudos to Indiana, even though they suffered their first loss. They showed they belonged as an elite team in college football. So they won without winning. So good for them.
Yes. So we got up the Packers and the Colts. Again, we broke this down a little bit with Anthony. The Colts defense playing lights out. great running game. Still with the older quarterback back there trying to do his thing, make his push for a Super Bowl. You got the Packers who, with Aaron Rodgers, their offense is playing really well. Good running game, good passing game. Defense is still a little suspect. Jack, I don't know. To me, this is a toss-up. And when it's a toss-up, in this particular instance anyway, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. I think that Aaron Rodgers will throw a winning touchdown or maybe bring the team back for that field goal, even on that Colts defense. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Packers.
Well, this game's going to feature two future Hall of Fame quarterbacks starting in Aaron Rodgers and Phillip Rivers. And the Packers remind me of someone driving a car and putting it on cruise control. That's what they're basically doing this season. They started off really well. They seem to be coasting. They did just enough to beat Jacksonville last week. I really enjoyed at the end of the game when Jacksonville had the ball and the Packer defense had to hold them. I enjoyed seeing Aaron Rodgers come onto the field and huddle the defense together. Talk about leadership. That's the quarterback that's gathering the defense and encouraging them. And the Colts, the Colts are the one team everyone fell asleep on. There might not be a better rounded team in the league than the Indianapolis Colts. They have a great defense, and their coach, Frank Reich, he's been an outstanding head coach, an outstanding assistant, an outstanding backup quarterback to Jim Kelly. Everything he's done in the league, he's been wildly successful. So Indianapolis might be that one sleeper team when we talk about who's going to win the Super Bowl that's never mentioned, that maybe we should start mentioning a little more. I like Indianapolis in that game to beat the Packers.
So we got the Cowboys at the Vikings, and I don't know if the Cowboys win another game this year, Jack. They've fallen apart. They're on their third string quarterback. They play decent against the Steelers, but I don't think the Steelers took them seriously. They're a Viking team that's coming on with a back playing Viking football under their head coach, running the ball, play action, good defense. The Vikings are favored by over a touchdown. I'm not sure if they'll beat them. I don't know if the Vikings will beat them by more than a touchdown, but there's no reason why the Vikings shouldn't beat the Cowboys.
I don't think the Cowboys are going to be a complete patsy the rest of the way. I just think there's too much talent on that team not to be competitive the rest of the way. They have 7 games left, including this one. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys go something like 3-4 the rest of the way, or after losing to the Vikings today, they maybe spring a 3-3 the rest of the way. Andy Dalton is returning. He's a capable backup. He always flopped in the playoffs when he was the Cincinnati Bengals starter, but he did start for the Bengals for years and was a successful quarterback, got them to the playoffs a number of times. The Vikings are intriguing. They got off to a slow start. They're 4-5. They could be 5-5 today. They should win the game and get there. And then they have a fairly soft schedule. So the Vikings are that one team that can make the late playoff rush and maybe even be a factor in the playoffs.
Yeah. The Chiefs at the Raiders, Jack. The Raiders have a lot of players on COVID lists, a lot of starters on COVID lists. They're the only ones that beat the Chiefs so far this year. They did that, of course, that big thing made of them getting in the bus and taking a little victory lap around the field. Andy Reid said he was very upset about that. I don't know if Gruden really cares if Andy Reid is upset or not. I just think that the Chiefs, even if the Raiders were healthy, would probably win this game. The Raiders are playing great ball. I think they're going to have a shot at the playoffs, maybe as a wild card this year. They're a very physical team. I do like them a lot, but I think there's no reason why the Chiefs should not win this game, Jack.
Let me tell you, had the Raiders not beaten them, the Chiefs would be unbeaten at 9-0, and there'd be some whispers to Kansas City go unbeaten. The Steelers are the only unbeaten team right now, and for the most part, people aren't taking it overly serious, like the Steelers are going to go unbeaten, through the Super Bowl. But like you said, this game with COVID, it's crazy the amount of players who are shuttling in and out, and the Raiders have been hurt by COVID. The amount of guys that are going to miss the game. You would think the Chiefs, considering they lost to the Raiders before, would win this game. But even if the Chiefs don't, I mean, to me, they're the solid favorite to win the Super Bowl. I don't think this is a big test for the Chiefs, or they have much to prove. I think it's always a feeling of self-satisfaction when someone beats you. You want to turn the tables a second time around. But I think in the long run, as far as this season goes, I don't think it means much. The Chiefs will still be one game ahead of the Raiders, even if they lose to them, and they'll maintain that first place position.
And on Monday night, Jack, we have the Rams and the Bucks. Again, we covered this with Anthony.
Yeah.
He likes the Buccaneers. I don't know, Jack. I for some reason the Buccaneers. There's maybe because there was such a big deal made out of them this year. I think the Rams have a real good shot at them. I think the Rams will upset them, and just on their defense alone, I don't know if Brady can handle that rush that the Rams are going to present them. And I like the Rams offense, how balanced it is, Jack. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Rams for this game.
I actually agree with you. Everything you said, I'll agree with. So I'm not really going to add much to it. But Tampa Bay's shown a certain tendency this year. When they play a bad game, they bounce back with a good game. They were dreadful against New Orleans in both their losses this year, and then bounced back with good games last week against Carolina. This Ram defense is going to be tough, and Tampa Bay, I guess, is the most entertaining team this year. If we talk about one team that's just going to entertain us to watch, I think it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their whole storyline. So it's going to be a fun game to watch with big implications, too, for the Rams. Because if they win, they remain tied with Seattle on the top spot, in the NFC West. But if they should lose, they fall a game behind, and it becomes a little harder, playoff-wise.
So, Jack, we got like 8 minutes left, 7 minutes left. Let's go a little bit deeper into the locals real quick. We got the Patriots at Houston. The Patriots with a big win last week. I don't know how big it is now the way the Ravens have been playing, but still they came from behind and beat the Ravens, who normally when they get in front in the past anyway, don't lose. Houston's a mess. They're actually favored this week. I mean, I don't know what the bookies or Vegas knows, but I mean, I don't see any way that Houston beats the Patriots. The Patriots, I think, are just more of a solid all-around team than Houston. And, of course, the offense for Houston has really dropped off. The defense is still playing well, but I don't see how Houston beats the Patriots. I'm going to take the Patriots this game.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Bill Belichick has nothing but nice things to say about the Texan coach, Romeo Crennel, because Crennel was his assistant for a lot of years in New England. He said he never had a more loyal assistant coach, that Crennel is his favorite. They've worked together for years and years. Before that, I don't want to say Houston has given up, but it's a really dysfunctional organization now. And it's hard to be motivated with everything going on. Their PR person, a woman, was let go. J.J. Watt was claiming it was ridiculous how great she was for the team. Deshaun Watson expressed a little unhappiness, but he's been quiet, trying to keep it together. I mean, they've underachieved and and it was hard to make a switch from Bill O'Brien, considering they made the playoffs last year. But they got off to the 0-4 start and then lost. They're 2-7. They lost a couple of close games. One thing about New England that people don't realize, because they keep focusing on the quarterback situation with Cam Newton, New England has a very good secondary, and the chips are there for them to be a good team going forward. I mean, if they win this game, their record's 5-5. And as I said the other day, if they have an 8-8 record this year, it's an okay thing because it means they took a step back, but not a big step back. And and I think New England will be in a position next year to make a serious playoff run and maybe do something substantial. I don't think they've slipped or fallen apart the way a lot of other people think they have.
Yeah, I mean, you're correct. They do have a great secondary, and Gilmore may be playing today, which will add to that strength of that secondary. And maybe they stick with that running game they showed last week, and eat up some clock and put pressure on Houston to throw the ball, which is right where you would want them to be. Just be able to be a one-sided offense. So the Jets and the Chargers are interesting to me. The Jets. Their season has really been, you can't describe anything but terrible. Flacco will be starting again. This is his third week at quarterback. The Chargers have been playing good competitive ball, even though they have a losing record, but they're favored by 8.5, Jack. I think this is a spot where the Jets have a chance to win. Maybe they get pumped up. Maybe they get really excited. Maybe they squeak out their first win this week, Jack.
Well, the Jets haven't won a game. I mean, the Jets are 0-9. The Chargers are 2-7. But the Chargers have lost a lot of close games. I mean, the Chargers 2-7. The Chargers could be 5-4 now, logically speaking. The Jets are 0-9. What could the Jets be? 1-8? I'm sure you could find one game that you thought the Jets could have eked out, during the year. But the Jets secondary is a mess right now. And Justin Herbert, he's like 6 multiple TD games in a row, I believe. And Justin Herbert is going to be able to go pass happy on the Jets secondary. Early in the week, I thought, maybe the Jets could win this game. The more I think of it, their defense isn't going to keep Justin Herbert and the Chargers in check. Chargers are going to put up a lot of points. So for the Jets to win, Joe Flacco is going to have to match that. And at this point in his career, no. I look for the Chargers to win by a couple of touchdowns or so.
Yeah, and we talked about the Eagles and the Browns, especially with Myles Garrett being out. The pass rush is going to ease up against Carson Wentz a little bit. If they can run the ball, if the Browns run the ball really well, I think it's a toss-up game. I'm going to go with the Eagles because they're local. The Browns, I don't believe in the Browns till I can see Baker Mayfield win a game or at least really contribute to winning a game. And so far, he really hasn't done that yet.
Well, Baker Mayfield is managing games now. There's nothing the matter with that. He's relying on the running game, which he should. He's managing games. They're winning. They're 6-3. It might seem like a soft 6-3, but nevertheless, they're winning. I mean, people thought early in the year because of Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, they're going to have this high-powered offense where they're really going to stretch the field. But it's the running game that's getting it done for them, running in defense. And it's a good formula. I think it's going to be a fairly low-scoring game today. And yesterday I liked the Browns, but today I'm kind of shifting a little towards the Eagles. Maybe the Eagles win something like 17-16, something like that. In any event, I think that's a game that's coming down to the very end.
Yeah, so the Bills and the Giants both are not playing this week. The Bills, of course, are tied for first place with Miami, and the Giants are a couple of games or a game and a half behind the Eagles. The only thing, big news, and we got to sign off here in a second, Jack. Only big news was Colombo being let go and that whole fiasco there. Hopefully, it works out for the Giants and it keeps them playing as good as they were. And the Buffalo Bills are playing great football, even when losing. They're losing by a touchdown in the last play of the game. So both the Bills looking really good, the Giants improving, and hopefully next week they both come back and they win the ball game. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. We won't be back till Wednesday. Please join us for our little celebration of Sports Day. And it was great having the guests on we had. And we'll see you on Wednesday, folks.
Right.
Have a great day.
We
Enjoy
run
the games,
Wednesday to
and we'll see you
Sunday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday to Sunday, 8 to 10. And we're
All right,
doing
my friend.
Thanksgiving morning too.
All right, my friend.